Welcome to a new video, you crippling obese motherfuckers. I'm back and ready to smack some ass. Today we're gonna fucking talk about DMC's Devil May Cry, the American reboot to the classic Devil May Cry series that sadly did not live up to what it could have been. It could have been amazing, but studio fucking Ninja Theory fucked all that shit up. So let's talk about how they fucked it up and how they made a pretty fun game while doing that. First off, for you edgy fucks, we got the weapons. They made a great list of weapons for this one. Some of which, I don't know if they, perfectly made them, but, still fun to use sometimes. Now, I'm gonna get some of these names wrong, because, I don't know how to fucking speak English, first of all. And second of all, this is shit doesn't even look like English. So, if I'm offending you with my pronunciation of the words, feel free to not fucking tell me, because I don't give a shit. First off, we got a classic right here. We have the Rebellion. This is a weapon that's been in every Devil May Cry video game because it is Dante's main weapon. It is a demonic weapon given to him by his father, Sparta, and it's used in every game. You can't look at a Devil May Cry picture without it being in there. It looks just like a normal American or Western broadsword. And then he also is accompanied by his two beauties of pistols, Ebony and Ivory. They are his classic weapons. He never goes anywhere without them. Next up, we have the Orbiter, which is a demonic weapon. It is a big axe that is used mostly to destroy some doors and take down enemy shields. There's not really much to say about it besides big axe that breaks. Next up is Osiris. This is the first angelic weapon Dante gets. It's great for doing damage in a short amount of time, and it's not really great on the ground, so a lot of its moves tend to knock enemies into the air, because it does way better in the skies than it does on the ground. Next up, we have Eryx. This is a set of powerful gauntlets that are capable of dealing massive damage to a single target. Each attack can be charged for a stronger and greater and bigger effect. These are very useful against really tanky enemies, such as all the big guys. And then they also do a lot of damage against shields. Next up is Aquala. Aquala is Dante's last demon angel weapon that he unlocks, and this is the one that you see me using in this footage that I'm using right now a lot, because it's really good with taking down multiple enemies. It's very good with area of effect, and it could also be used to single in on one enemy, and then you can also attack another, because one of its power moves is you can charge it up, and it'll throw blades that'll constantly be spinning at one enemy, and then you can switch to any weapon, and the blades will still be active, and you can attack another. Very useful against the specific enemies and non-specific enemies. Next up, we have the Revenant, which is a really powerful shotgun that is great for crowd control and dealing high damage at very close range. Its charge move is basically shooting out an explosive blast that waits before it detonates. Next weapon is Kablooey. I hate this weapon because I played on PC, and the controls on PC are kind of ass, especially for gun specials. And basically what it does is it can be used to fire multiple needles that stick to an enemy and manually detonate. And the way you do that is with space and right click. Thing is, every time you try that, it doesn't work 100% of the time. Next up, for you big fat fucking lore bitches, we got Story. And the story for this one, I actually kind of like it. It is a reboot, and it does, very often stray away from the original. But the changes that they did make, I do kind of like. I'm not saying I prefer them over the original, but I like both of them. I like the original story and the new story completely separate. So for the American remake, basically the story behind that is Devil May Cry started to grow in America when it was originated in Japan. Capcom creators saw that And they were like, "Oh, we should make an American version of this because Americans aren't gonna find this Dante cool, even though he was the definition of badass and corny in America, which we fucking love both of those things, especially when they're together." And they were like, the standard for cool in Japan is very different from the standard of cool in America. And at the time of 2013, when the game came out, and before that, when they're working on it, the standard for cool, at least for teenagers, was edgy and dark humor shit. So they wanted to make an edgier, darker Dante and an even darker story to fit with that scheme. And what they did with that is, so Dante's parents are still dead, like in the original, but in the original way that they were gonna make the game, Dante was sent to an orphanage, and it turns out that orphanage was run by demons there to torture him. And I kind of like this. I kind of like him having even more of a reason to hate demons before he finds out he is the son of Sparta. And basically demons try and fuck with him. So it's kind of adding more to his character. Thing is, though, when they released the original trailer, which wasn't looking too good, I thought it was pretty okay. Like, oh, that's all right. I wasn't a fan of Devil May Cry at this time, so I was like, oh, that's cool. But the original fans, which this pisses me off the most, they complained about it because it wasn't like their Dante. When they specifically said that this Dante was not going to be like the original, he's going to be way different. And they complained so much that they got the devs to change the Dante and make him way worse than anyone ever could have expected. Because they set up this really dark story for a really dark character, but made him have, like misogynistic, edgy, dark jokes, which isn't really what the original Dante was like. They were trying to incorporate both, but ended up ruining the character because he doesn't have the same charisma, the same kind of charm that Dante had whenever he was trying to pick up the ladies. And yeah, so I really wish we could at least get a mod or something that overhauls the game that gives us that original Dante, because this story would have been so much better if they just kept what they were going for instead of changing it, because in return we got a shitty game that was very heavily criticized when it was initially at least released. Not many people liked it, but now it's a really fun game that people enjoy playing. If you go on Steam, a lot of the reviews are very positive, saying how much they love this game and they wish they didn't change. Like, this could have been something pretty good if they just stuck to what they were gonna do. And they said they didn't care that people would hate the game. They just wanted to make the game that they wanted, but that's not what ended up happening. It's really sad how a game that had a good bit of potential to be something new ended up just becoming another failed game. They kept the story, but not the same character. And the story itself isn't that bad at all. We didn't actually give it a chance to be good. You see, the story for this one is, instead of Dante's mother being human, like the original, she's actually an angel. And the lore for this, basically, angels and demons, they've fallen in love before, but it's basically outlawed and punishable by death. And that's exactly what happens. So Dante's uncle, not really big of a spoiler, you find out pretty early in the game, but Dante's uncle rises through hell, becoming basically Satan, and he's joined with his brother, Sparta. And basically they're in a fight with angels, and Sparta meets a woman, Eva, and they fall madly in love with each other. They basically leave heaven and hell to earth to live a life of joy with each other. They have two twin sons, Dante and Virgil. And then Mundus, Dante's uncle, finds out about this and was incredibly pissed. So he found out where Dante's parents were, and ripped out his mother's beating heart and ate it, and gave an even worse punishment to his father, an eternity trapped in hell. And you see, Mundus didn't know that there were two sons. He only knew of Dante, not Virgil. And that's a very important part of the story, that it's used a lot as leverage. Shut the fuck up. I'm not answering your notifications. And so after this, Sparta doesn't initially get captured. It's well after his wife gets murdered. And he takes his two sons, separates them, and uses demon magic to erase their memories. So they have no idea who they are, or what they can do until they're adults. Virgil finds all this out somehow. It's not really gone into in the game. And he helps Dante discover who he really is through the second mission, which is pretty fun. Going through the backstory and learning all this with the character about who you are. And yeah, the game was really good. Like, really good. And then they just ruined it. But it does have some saving grace with its story and its level design. And basically what happens when an angel and a demon have that freaky sex is they create creatures called Nephilim, which are the only thing strong enough to defeat Satan, I guess. Or whatever the fuck it is, I forgot. But basically, like, they're the strongest beings to ever exist. Basically a warrior race. But they were all killed because they were too much of a threat to demons. And you and Virgil are the last of your kind. And you intend to use your Nephilim powers to your advantage in defeating Mundus. And I talked earlier about angel and demon weapons. This is something new to the Devil May Cry series, and I think it was a really good addition to it. It adds something else to it. Like, in Devil May Cry, there's always been a lot of weapons that you can choose from, but I don't know. This adds kind of more of an attachment to it, because these weapons you get are from portraits of your father and mother, as if they were left there for you to unlock. Like a gift from father and son, or mother and child. And the weapons kind of have a character when you think about it like that. They're a part of something, instead of just being, weapons you unlock from defeating a boss. Now I'm going to talk about the level design. So these weren't classified as weapons because they are used in combat, but not to hurt enemies, more to pull you to them and them to you. And they're also used in the platforming segments of every mission, which I enjoyed these a lot. Like, they were really fun to do. And you use them to get the collectibles in the game, which is a really fun challenge to do. Some of the stuff you can't even get until playing the game around a second or even a third time. And, it's really nice how they put that much detail into it. Like, you can see in the game that it had a lot to give. It was just, they got fucked up due to the original fans. And, so there's often, like, pull yourself to something, and then pull something to you, and then jump to it while still in the air. Very, you gotta think. You have to be ready for that stuff. And it just, it adds a little bit more to the replay value. Knowing, like, oh, there's so much you can do, a lot of stuff you won't find on your first go, or even be able to get on your first go. It's just really fun game. A lot of the characters are really fun to be around. Well, there's really only like 3 characters in total: Dante, Virgil, and then Cat. Cat being the main love interest, or not really love interest, but necessarily your human side. She is a personification of your humanity and your love for people and your desire to be their savior. It's really cool. Speaking of characters, I'm going to talk about those things now because those are going to be quick to get through. First off, we have Dante, self-centered, just asshole all around at the beginning of the story, but he kind of goes through this arc where he slowly becomes less of an asshole and more of a savior of humanity, and he really cares for people in the end. Or I'm guessing even at the beginning, he just doesn't like to show it because it ruins his bad boy reputation. Then there's Kat, a human psychic who can bring people in and out of limbo while bringing her astral projected side into limbo. And the entire game you spend inside limbo, that's where your demonic power lies. And like I said before, she is Dante's humanity. She is very low and quiet at the beginning of the story, but then she becomes stronger and more outspoken, kind of showing how Dante is becoming more in touch with his humanity side. It's growing stronger than his demon. And then we also have Virgil, who is Dante's twin brother, and at the beginning of the game, or like for a majority of actually until the very end of the story, they're like best friends. Like they have a brotherly love for each other, and like we never really got to see that in the older games because it kind of just threw us right into it. And it doesn't happen. They're disconnect from each other until the very end after you defeat Mundus and Virgil. You both want to save humanity. He does not want to enslave them and make them his slaves. Except he kind of does. He wants to become a king. The king of humanity. But he doesn't want to do what Mundus did and use them. He wants to bring them peace. Sure, forceful peace, but I kind of see where he's coming from with this. He doesn't want them to have control over themselves, because if they do, then they just destroy and kill and pillage, burn, rape, everything. But Dante doesn't believe in that. He believes that they should have freedom. They can have a protector that is not controlling them. And that's why you two fight. Not because you are on two separate sides of the coin, but because you're on the same side, just a little on... You're the edges of the coin. You are the same, but different. And that's a really cool way of doing it. Really interesting way, I should say. But, yeah, Virgil doesn't stop Mundus so he can take his place. He stops him so he can protect people the way he thinks they should be protected. Dante just believes in a different way, and they can't really afford to get what they both want in the end, because if they both get what they want, or if they both try and get what they want, one of them is probably going to die, because you can't have both a ruler and a protector. And that's why you fight. And since you're twins, you are incredibly even matched, although that doesn't make complete sense, but I like the idea of it. Your powers are the exact same, and you can't really kill each other, which is something a funny thing that they did in DMC 5, where they fight and basically they both take the same amount of damage until Nero shows up and just bitch slaps Dante and his father, and just destroys both of them with one hit. This dynamic between the two of them is really cool. And I wish we get to see that more. Well, we do actually get to see it a little bit more. In the original games, Virgil doesn't hate his brother. He doesn't want to kill him. Actually, quite often he asks Dante to join him so they can be brothers by each other's side, doing what he believes is right. But Dante believes in something way different. So they can't love each other because of the paths they've both chosen. That's probably all I'm going to say right now. I don't really have much else to do. I think that's it for this video. Thank you to the 2 people that are subscribed to me and don't even watch the videos, but I'm still going to make them because I enjoy it. Next video I'm probably going to make is a God of War discussion with my good friend Paladin Steel. I had been talking about it with him for a long time, and then we both love the game, so we both want to talk about it. So yeah, if you care, look forward to that. Probably be out within a week. Good night and goodbye.